Welcome to Are We the Only Ones? I'm Kathy, and today I want to talk about Pete Hegseth and the war crimes conversation. Pete Hegseth has become under fire for a couple of reasons. He decided to uh, accuse Senator Mark Kelly, the astronaut, celebrated military war hero, and husband of Senator Gabby Giffords, who was shot in the head during a meet and greet with her constituents. And that to me is one of the ultimate power couples of politics. So it's very interesting that Pete Hegseth, who has been known to be a former alcoholic, maybe current alcoholic, I guess, and had been drunk at work, has been known to have committed sexual assault while in the military, is now trying to call an actual honorable military career man a seditious person for trying to remind service members while he's a sitting senator of their ethical moral obligation to not act on war crimes. And it's interesting because Pete Hegseth started sort of like, I want to say like initiate the shots fired in terms of a formal investigation. The House Oversight Committee, who is Republican led, decided to open an active investigation on Pete Hegseth for his role as the Secretary of War overseeing the Venezuelan narcotics campaign, whatever you want to call it. Pete Hegseth actually implicated himself because he, I guess, tweeted on his official handle a drawing illustration of a child, like a children's book. It's a turtle from a helicopter with like a uh, RPG that's pointed towards a, a boat, supposedly a narcotics boat. So then I'm like, oh my God, this fool just implicated himself too in this conversation. So obviously, Senator Kelly didn't do anything wrong. So when they do the investigation of him, they're going to come up that he did nothing wrong. So that's that's going to happen properly. And to have that then create a legitimate reason to then go after Pete Hegseth and also now um, Donald Trump for his role in greenlighting, authorizing a no survivor order. That what ended up happening was when they killed those two fishermen that had survived the initial strike, it was because there was a no survivor, basically, command. And then after they did that from the top, so then after the people that were the military people, after that happened, they realized, we can't do that again. That's absolutely somebody resigned because it's not within the rules of engagement. So in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is also known as the UCMJ, there is the code for all military legal engagement rules in combat with in respect to even your uniform, like your actual uniform. So it's everything. It covers everything in that a military person would have to be legally responsible for. So it's interesting because when I was bringing this up on TikTok, there's a lot of people that that chime in thinking they know what's what on the law, but the reality is like it's opinion is fine. But there's a point where when someone like me who has 12 years of military affiliation, if not with active service through my husband with the Navy first and then the Marine Corps for a total of 9 years in active service, and then an additional 3 years as the head of the Military Affairs Committee for the New York City Bar Association. He was the youngest chair of the Military Affairs and Intelligence Committee at the New York City Bar Association, which is a position that was held for 3 years. So during that time, my husband was also actively passing laws on behalf of military spouses. So that association with military has been a very long, and now with the law. So we don't talk about these things lightly. Like, I try to help educate people, but as long as they're arguing with me in good faith, if you want to know in good faith, I will tell you. But as you know, people are obviously not acting in good faith and they're just trolling, I will then switch and then just go into sort of like mirroring on in kind of like a sparring kind of way to just understand, am I talking to a bot? Am I talking to a troll? Am I talking to a person that really doesn't know and is acting and asking real questions to try to filter out who I'm spending and wasting time with? Am I spending time with somebody or am I wasting time with them? And especially online, you really got to do that, right? So I think it's very interesting that in addition to that, we have three different attorneys that the Trump administration has appointed in a very rushed way. And now those three attorneys, one's name was Alina, I believe Habib or Hob. I know her first name is Alina for sure. And she is the Attorney General of New Jersey. It has been found that she was um, put into that position of power, um, not in a way, basically illegally. So all any cases that she was the lead attorney on, will now be compromised. Um, the attorney that they had put, Lindsay Halligan, was her name, um, was in charge of James Comey's uh, case that they're trying to like witch hunt, and Letitia James, who was my former AG in New York when I lived there. Um, both outstanding citizens, patriots, lawyers, members of the Department of Justice. So that turns out that she was also hastily assigned to that job, and it was also a legal assignment. So that she's also not. She's been removed from that position, and now James Comey's case, he's good now, and so is Letitia James, and that's exactly how it should go. And that's what I think is going to end up happening with Senator Kelly. They're going to go through the whole process because it's still the due process, and then they're going to realize that obviously he didn't do anything wrong. So it is going to be an interesting next few weeks, maybe, to see who ends up having to take responsibility. Does Pete Hegseth end up resigning or does he get fired? Does Donald Trump get held responsible for war crimes? And he is, it's supposed to be when he was on The Apprentice, you can go back to those episodes where he's like, responsibility goes all the way to the top. So it's going to be a very interesting next few weeks to see how this political storm unfolds and who will face accountability, what is going to get back on track, what will kind of stay corrupt and off track. We're going to see what's pulling back in. I'm having faith now. I think MTG's big resignation prompted other Republicans to follow. I actually think it's a great way, diplomatically, the way they handled it by resigning actually works better for the Democrats as well, because then the Democrats will take power. And there doesn't have to be a crazy, tumultuous campaigning or journey between parties to get to that process. So that's great. The redistricting efforts from Texas failed because they did it in an illegal way. And so it did not go through. However, because California did it in a legal way to counter Texas's plan, and California, where I voted, it held and it got voted through. We will be redistricting, so then we end up with extra seats. This is great. This is exactly what needs to happen when justice, democracy, these things are all set by our forefathers and founding fathers. I always say, there's always somewhere in the law that we can find that has some way to handle this, whatever, XYZ, right? So the Constitution may not be prepared to handle such a corrupt president, but we do have other laws and with states versus federal. So you can't pardon somebody that's charged in a state court. That's a great fail safe. There's like things like that, which is why Letitia James is so important because she can file charges in the Southern District of New York, which is the most difficult court um, in the country. She can do that and then hold responsible people that would maybe get a pardon at the federal level. So tell me what you think. Do you think the chips are starting to fall? Do you think there's is this the first domino? Is it the third domino? Or you don't think there's any dominoes that have fallen yet? And like we're getting a little too excited soon. Fair enough. But for sure, I think that our guardrails are holding, which is a great thing. So, so happy to see that our government is working where it's supposed to help protect us. And we should be all thrilled about that. So if you can engage and then just be more active and just understanding what's going on. I think in other places, on the other hand, I was on a casino MGM Rewards Facebook page where I ended up engaging with somebody that was like extremely racist and said some really racist things to me. And it was just to me just reflected on the state of affairs um, in this country based on it was like a page that was like public. He didn't hide his face. He said extremely racist things about um, Asian people to me. So it was just one of those things where I realized that uh, there's a lot that all of a sudden just got unveiled. Like these people always existed. They just feel like they're entitled to be able to say this stuff to us now. So stay safe out there. Try not to lose your cool when you're dealing with crazy people, but recognize I deal with crazy people now a lot too. But for the most part, people are pretty good and really for what's right. So I have faith. You should have faith. Spread the faith. Keep the faith. And until next time.